Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. In the last part, we started off Crazy Kremland after finishing off K.O.N.G in the K.O.N.G, and now it's time for us to continue on. Bramble Scramble, despite us only having the last Bramble stage, the last part, is about the same difficulty as that, I feel. Though, that does get into something I feel like this game does do both better and worse than the first game. I feel the Donkey Kong Country trilogy in general has a problem where there are sometimes levels that just feel out of place difficulty-wise within a world, usually only one or two per, in the middle. It'd be one thing if they were located more towards the end of that world or even in the next world, but for some reason every single game in the trilogy from my memory has that issue. Though in the case of Donkey Kong Country 1, it only happened in maybe one or two occasions, particularly that one ice level that everyone talks about. But in this game, I feel like it happens in almost every single world from World 4 onwards. And I can't exactly tell if that's just because this isn't generally the game I play a lot, and thus I'm just not used to the levels. If it's just because the game itself has just aged poorly in some cases. I don't know. It'd be one thing if I played this game a lot more as a kid, just because I didn't play it as a kid. But playing it now, some levels just feel out of place. Also, you really need to be careful in some of these bonuses because, ooh, boy, that was close. That can be a bit of a stressful thing when it comes to bonuses, I suppose, as sometimes you need to reach the Krem coin before the timer runs out, even if it's, say, a Destroy Them All room. And if you have an Animal Buddy and there's a sign there, that means you have to take out all the enemies or grab all the stars, get past the sign, or the transformation barrel, in the rare case that is, and still get the Krem coin. That can, let's say that can make things a bit, tight. You'll see quite a couple that I clear with 1 second remaining, though I don't think it translates exactly to 1 real-life second. I think it's maybe maybe even half a second. The best way to survive a lot of these Bramble stages, especially when they start putting you in control squawks, is just to mash the Y button. Because the red zingers aside, nothing else will stand up to those. To the eggs. Although now I think about it, how is a bird coughing up eggs? Well, I suppose there are some predatory birds that might eat eggs, but I doubt a parrot's one of them. Either way, one of the major reasons I do dislike this level as well is because I think it has one of the dumbest hidden Krem coins in the game. Yep, fake walls. Now, in the game's defense, they have that little platform there with a banana, which implies that you are supposed to get over there somehow. However, I feel like most people's first playthrough of this game, they're going to see that and instead think that that's a platform they come back to later just because of how twisty and turvy the Bramble levels are in the game. Like this one, like getting this DK coin, once you're past that, I can understand finding this little fake wall because they have the banana directly in the wall, but I think they could have made the other wall just a little bit more obvious. Now, I really wish they could also let you keep Squitter here, but at the same time, he is admittedly kind of broken in these levels. The game is pretty smart in that it gives you things you need for the challenges that they set up for you, I think is the way to best explain it. Like, yeah, squawks can be kind of overpowered in a level like this normally, but because they have the signs and the proper level design around it, he doesn't feel as overpowered in a situation like this as he could feel. Whereas Squitter especially could be particularly broken, but they only have him there for that little side section and have signs placed in the correct places. With that said, though, I've never tried to take Squitter backwards from getting him in this level, so I'm not sure if there's another sign later on. I honestly forget. It's been so long since I've taken some of these levels normal pathways, in the case I have to go out of my way to get a DK coin, that I honestly forget if there is another spider sign. Now, with levels like this, I can't quite tell if what's happening is that those enemies are infinitely spawning, or if they just spawn where they are and then they move right. I think in some cases they actually spawn some enemies infinitely, just so you always have a challenge waiting ahead of you. When it comes to Squawks in the Bramble levels, though, you really need to learn how to control him well, to use him well. Be it proper acceleration and deceleration with both rising and falling when it comes to flapping his wings, or just, in general, knowing when to fire correctly. But thankfully now that level's out of the way, and now we're on to, if I'm recalling the level correctly, probably my favorite level in this world. Welcome to Rickety Race. We're heading back to the little roller coaster gimmick from last part here. And I want to grab this DK barrel and immediately distract myself from the main gimmick because the first bonus area in this level is available right from the start. Now, an interesting thing about this level, if I'm recalling correctly, is that in the SNES version, this is the only level without a checkpoint barrel, whereas the Game Boy Advance version would later add one. Also, this is your standard destroy them all bonus area. However, you don't have to destroy them all just because it's impossible to. You only need to take out 5 of those, I think they're called, I forget that Kremling's name, to get the Krem coin. And now we start the main gimmick. We have the roller coaster back, but this time around it's a proper race. However, if you hold back, you can get this plus barrel to zoom forward at extreme speeds. This is technically a shortcut. Now, I call it a race, but it's really an eliminate everyone in your pathway kind of thing. You start in 10th place, and by killing anyone in your pathway, you take their place. Some of these enemies have some of the K.O.N.G letters. One of them, I believe it's the one in first place, has the DK coin. So in order to get everything here, you do need to be as fast as you possibly can. I believe this general speed and the fact that checkpointing where the other enemies would be when you hit a checkpoint is why this stage doesn't have a standard checkpoint barrel. Plus it helps that it's just over so quickly anyway. With that said, though, I just find this level fun to play. Now, obviously, that little plus barrel I got at the start of the level is what's making me zoom forward this fast. If you're playing the game normally, I think you're going fast by this point, but not this fast. And that's everything. Just gotta do some careful platforming here, and we should be good. This level is also admittedly very short. Sad to say, despite it being my favorite level in the world. Oh well. And now we're just going to take a look through the little bonus stuff before I continue onwards. Now, something else that I forgot to mention. There's actually a reference to another Rareware game in the Monkey Museum. In the background, I forget the character's name, but there's a poster of one of the Killer Instinct characters. I've never been too much of a fan of Killer Instinct myself. I'm glad it kind of got revived. If I recall, were the Battletoads playable in that? But it's just not my kind of game. That jump cut there is because I've actually screwed up that minigame more times than I'd like to admit. I am good at this game, I admit, but I am no speedrunner, nor do I know it inside and out like other people do. With that, though, we go from my favorite level in the world to my least favorite level in the world. Welcome to Mudhole Marsh. And the main reason I don't like this level is because it's our first introduction to my least favorite enemy in the game, the cat and 9 tails. Now, on first observation, that enemy, the way I handled it, didn't look that annoying at all. However, the cat and 9 tails, when it's spinning, is completely invincible to attack. And it's very inconsistent on whether or not it'll outright hurt you, or, I guess it's if you touch the tails, it'll catch you in its tails, and then try to fling you off the map. Thankfully, like with firing yourself out of a barrel, you have some amount of control once you're flung, but it usually doesn't end well for you. Usually you'll just end up finding yourself flung into the pit with nothing you can do about it. The only way you can take them out, if you don't have a barrel or chest, that is, or a cannonball should the case be in at least one instance, I believe, is if you don't take them out from the moment they're standing still, you need to jump over them spinning a few times in a row before they make themselves dizzy. And I usually don't have that kind of patience when it comes to taking down an enemy like that. I usually just like to say, screw you, I'm moving on. But in a game like this, where I have to find a lot of stuff, I don't usually have that ability, especially when they love to place bonuses right next to them. Out! Come on! And with that, I need my teammate to get up there, so I'll just take that death. Happened at the last possible second too, didn't it? It's always how it is. Maybe that's why I don't like this level so much. It's because I have a lot of bad memories of just things not going well for me here. Now, this particular bonus is where I should probably highlight that throwing your teammate is pretty invaluable, but it's also kind of inconsistent. Because if you throw your teammate and they hit an enemy, they'll take damage. But if they hit an instant death pit or something like that, they're completely fine. I guess in a way it makes sense because you're throwing it, you know, at an enemy, but at the same time, it's just annoying. Also, I'd like to call out that bonus. You need a partner to reach it through the team throw, because I don't think you can bounce off an enemy and still grab that bonus barrel. But there's a DK barrel in the bonus itself. So why? You can't get damaged in there. In fact, in any bonus stage, if you get damaged, you're kicked out. What? That doesn't seem right. That's stupid. Ow. Yeah, this is also probably a level I just get hit a lot in because of my... I don't want to say I'm reckless with this game, but I'm definitely less patient than I probably should be, admittedly. Some of my problems with the DKC trilogy are admittedly just because they're meant to be, at times, at least with the way the collections go, more methodical, slower-paced platformers, unless you're a speedrunner, in which case you just say, screw that, I'm going all over the place, and my god, DKC speedruns are a wonder to watch. But for me, who grew up on Mega Man, which is very run-and-go, taking it slow sometimes just feels alien to me. I can take it slow, don't get me wrong, you've seen some of the games I've played, but sometimes it just doesn't feel right. A game that oddly did the inverse of that, it made me feel like I should take my time when you're really supposed to be going fast, is Mighty Number 9. Because Mighty Number 9, with my instincts for a Mega Man player, with how those levels are designed, it made me feel like I should be taking things more slowly, but no, my answer to all my problems in that game was taking things more quickly. In fact, I will say, as a speed game, Mighty Number 9 ain't bad. You can get a good flow going in that game. Too bad about everything else. I'll get to it eventually. Oh, I'll get to that game eventually. Oh boy. Did anything ever come out of that Red Ash campaign, by the way? I haven't seen any word of that since like a little animated intro thing came out a while back. Either way, this is one of my least favorite DK coins in the game because I have to rely on the timing of the barrels in order to get it. This is deceptively hard to get. In fact, I failed that several times in practice. That's why I was hesitating there so long, because I had to make sure I get the right timing, and it's just annoying. I think I said it before, but things like that bonus minigame should really be reserved for less important things. But now we're in Ramby Rumble. Out of all of the honeybee-styled levels, this is probably my favorite. Just because, well, first off, I get to hear this awesome track again. But also, I think this stage just does a better job with its design. And admittedly, it's no wonder, because something I have noticed that these games love to do, and I'm glad they do it right, is when they first introduce a level gimmick and aesthetic that may have a gimmick exclusive to it, such as this, the first levels generally played a bit safer, whereas the second one, they tend to let the levels be more, not open-ended, but challenging, that allow you to learn the gimmick and do it well. And this level's a really good example of that. Now, something that took me way longer than it probably should have to realize is that here in the honeybee levels, and this level in particular is where I noticed it, there's a little effect of there's a little foreground effect of honey drizzling down the screen, and it looks really good. It adds to the atmosphere really well. I think the DKC games are good at making an atmosphere for their levels, and DKC 2 is probably the king of that in my eyes. DKC 1 had it as well in some regards, like I can recall the fog effect in some of those levels. But I just remember them more in DKC 2 because, well, it's not just fog. Fog effects are a good way to add atmosphere, but they're also really overdone. That's a dumb death. I should have cartwheel jumped at that. Whoops. Although that is actually something I find really funny about this game. Just because, technically speaking, your death animation doesn't end until you hit a floor. In some of these vertically structured levels, you can get hit high up, and you can be falling for a little bit before you actually finally die. Need to use those invisible hooks that you can only figure out are there by progressing otherwise to get that DK coin. And what I mean by progressing otherwise, in this little cave is the namesake of the level. There's Ramby. The way you're supposed to know you can do that to get that DK coin is once you come over here, you'll see the DK coin there, and then you have to wonder, well, how do I get that? And you just have to trial and error until you find it. In some regards, I like trial and error in platforming, just because you learn the puzzle and then you solve it yourself. But at the same time, when you're given no hint that's going to be there ahead of time, it's kind of iffy to me. Oh, okay, that's a giant zinger. That is King Zing. We'll talk more about him in a moment. He is constantly chasing you down, though, through this portion of the level, so you need to rush forward and not die. Thankfully, he's not considered instant death. He's just a damage obstacle. And even then, once you reach here, you're good, because once he reaches this is the end of that little honey pile there, he doesn't move forward at all. But on a first playthrough, that can be kind of scary. And thankfully, they make the bonus here pretty easy, just so you don't accidentally lose Rambi. You just gotta move forward, left to right, and you are good. Probably should time that, so I should have said good there, but oh well. And with that, that's this level down. I believe that is the final normal level of this world, too, so hey. Crazy Kremland has a lot of good levels in my eyes, but God, Marshland, Mudhole Marsh is just annoying. And now it's time for the boss, King Zing and his Sting. And this is the only boss in the game where we actually use an animal buddy. And there's an interesting glitch with this level, technically. You might recall I mentioned the hard mode earlier, where DK barrels don't spawn, and thus you enter levels with two characters rather. This is the only stage that doesn't work on. If you exit the last stage with one monkey, and you come in here, you're only going to have one, because the DK barrel is right there. It's just a minor bug with it, and you can fix it easily just by going to another level and coming back here. But yeah. Either way, King Zing, what we need to damage on him is his stinger. For the first phase, after you damage him, he's going to turn into a red zinger and then just fire out a bunch of stingers out at you in various patterns. This happens for about 4, 5, 6 hits. I say that because I think this boss takes the most hits in the game at 9. After that, he shrinks down in size to a normal zinger, and then is going to spawn a couple around him. Take out the 4 zingers around him quickly, otherwise they'll respawn, and then just fire at him 3 times whilst escaping his wrath, and you should win the boss fight no problem. That's probably my favorite boss fight in the game overall, actually. It's a pity it's just kind of easy. But with that, we are done with Crazy Kremland 100%, and now we're on to Gloomy Gulch. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we'll be seeing what Gloomy Gulch has to offer for us. See you guys then.